What if 3 simple books could help you stay sharp, mobile, and pain-free, well into your 80s or 90s? Not supplements, not surgeries, just words, gathered slowly over a lifetime. Today we walk beside Japan's oldest practicing doctor, Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, as he shares the 3 books that shaped his ability to live fully past age 100. And one of them might already be on your shelf. Most people think aging is about slowing down, but after a century of service, Dr. Hinohara believed it was actually about waking up, returning to what matters. And often, that begins with a story. Today's books aren't just books, they're mirrors. Each one shows us how to feel safe in our bodies, clear in our minds, and deeply alive in our purpose. 1. Heal Aging from Within. Healthy Aging by Dr. Andrew Weil. We tend to treat aging like a malfunction, a knee that stiffens, a memory that blurs. But what if it's not decline, just a different rhythm? That's the lens Dr. Andrew Weil offers in Healthy Aging. And after more than a century of life and care, I agree. Aging isn't failure, it's a shift in tempo. And when you learn to move with it, not against it, healing becomes possible. At the heart of this book is one key truth. Inflammation is the silent force behind most age-related decline. Not sharp, fiery pain, but a low, constant burn. It quietly stiffens joints, fogs the mind, and weakens the heart. Imagine your body as a forest in early autumn. A few dry leaves pose no threat, but add stress, sugar, poor sleep, and suddenly a spark turns into a slow-moving fire. That's chronic inflammation after 60, quiet, invisible, and dangerous when ignored. Dr. Weil helps us cool that fire, not with medications, but with food, breath, and gentle rituals that calm the system and restore rhythm. His 7-day anti-inflammatory reset is something I still recommend to patients in their 60s and 70s, especially those who feel like they've lost control. Here's the pattern. Days 1 to 2. Replace inflammatory oils like corn or soybean with olive or avocado oil. This small switch corrects omega-6 overload and lowers internal heat. Days 3 to 4. Add turmeric, 1/2 TSP, and ginger, fresh or tea, to your meals. A study in the British Journal of Nutrition found these two can reduce CRP, an inflammatory marker, by up to 17% in older adults. Days 5 to 6. Walk for 10 to 15 minutes after lunch or dinner. According to the American Diabetes Association, post-meal walking reduced glucose spikes by 22%, a quiet way to cool inflammation through motion. Day 7. Begin a breath ritual. Inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 6. Do this twice a day. It lowers cortisol and helps your body shift into its natural repair mode. Simple, gentle, and deeply effective. Most people don't need an overhaul, they need alignment. That's what healthy aging teaches. It meets you where you are and invites small, consistent changes that restore dignity. Dr. Weil doesn't lecture, he reminds. He reminds us that slowness isn't weakness, it's wisdom in motion. That aging doesn't mean stopping, it means recalibrating. And that message is healing in itself. So let me ask you, what if your body isn't breaking down? What if it's inviting you to move differently, slower, softer, wiser? You don't need to fight aging. You just need to cool the fire and begin walking again. 2. Eat to Stay Young. Young Forever Cookbook by Maria Foster. We're taught that aging is inevitable, but what we're not told is that how we age is deeply personal, and often profoundly edible. The Young Forever Cookbook isn't just a book of recipes, it's a rhythm manual for your cells, a way to cook that doesn't chase youth, but nourishes longevity from the inside out. Maria Foster distilled the complex science of longevity into something far more intimate, the way you plate your dinner. Most people over 60 don't need a stricter diet, they need a calmer one. This book speaks to that directly. The biological insight is clear. As we age, our insulin sensitivity declines, and with it, our ability to maintain energy, protect brain cells, and regulate inflammation. In simpler terms, what used to be just a snack now becomes a signal to store fat, fog the mind, or inflame the joints. Foster's answer isn't restriction, it's timing and pairing. She explains that when you eat matters as much as what you eat, and how you combine foods can either spike insulin or steady it. The magic begins with a 14-day reset ritual I often guide my older patients through, not as a rule book, but as a rhythm restoration. Here's how it works. Mornings. Always begin with protein plus leafy greens, a soft-boiled egg over sautéed spinach, or Greek yogurt with cinnamon and walnuts. This combination blunts the morning cortisol spike and prevents the 10 a.m. energy crash. Midday. Focus on warm, grounding foods, bone broth soups, lentil stews, or baked salmon with turmeric quinoa. These meals support mitochondrial energy and reduce oxidative stress. A 2020 study from the European Journal of Nutrition found that meals rich in omega-3s and polyphenols significantly reduced fatigue and joint pain in adults over 65. Evenings, keep it light. Vegetable broths, fermented vegetables, or lightly sautéed zucchini with olive oil. These support digestion and prepare the body for melatonin release, your natural sleep hormone. No counting, no weighing, just rhythm and presence. One of my patients, Estelle, age 71, once told me this book felt like a friend in her kitchen. Before, dinner was frozen pizza or cereal. Now she keeps a pot of turmeric broth simmering on Sundays and calls it her evening calm. Within 2 weeks, her leg swelling eased and her sleep deepened. Not because of medication, because of rhythm. That's what food can become when it's reconnected to the body's deeper timing. Not fuel, but a lullaby. And here's where the real shift happens. Most people think eating less is the answer to aging, but often the real power lies in eating differently. Not fewer calories, but fewer crashes. Not fewer meals, but fewer spikes. Not more rules, but more respect. The Young Forever Cookbook doesn't offer discipline. It offers dignity, a way to eat that listens, steadies, and heals without noise. So I invite you to reflect. What if your next meal wasn't just about hunger, but about remembering how to feed the future version of you? Because the future isn't some far-off place. It begins at the next bite. 3. Stay mentally sharp. Ikigai by García and Miralles. When I was 96, someone asked me what kept me going. My answer surprised them. It wasn't medicine. It wasn't good genes. It was this. I still had a reason to wake up. That's the heart of Ikigai, a book that doesn't give you steps to avoid aging, but instead gives you something to age for. In Okinawa, where many live past 100, there's no word for retirement. Instead, there's Ikigai, your life's quiet reason. And neuroscience now shows us why it matters. Having a sense of purpose doesn't just feel good, it protects your brain. Dopamine, the brain's motivation chemical, begins to decline after age 60. But studies show that even small daily rituals tied to personal meaning, gardening, mentoring, creating, can stabilize dopamine, regulate cortisol, and strengthen hippocampal connections, the very region tied to memory and spatial awareness. In 2021, the University of Edinburgh studied 4,300 seniors. Those who reported a clear sense of daily purpose had 43% better cognitive function scores over 2 years. Their brains didn't just age slower, they stayed engaged longer. What Ikigai offers is not a blueprint, but a doorway. And that doorway is daily rhythm. The practice I share with many of my older patients is something I call the Ikigai walk, a gentle 10-minute stroll once per day, where you repeat one life-reflecting question aloud, slowly, softly, one step, one phrase. Here's how it looks. Pick a time, just after breakfast or before sunset. Choose a question. What brings me calm? Who do I still want to bless? What is quietly waiting in me to begin? Walk and repeat. Say the question aloud. Let the answers come later. You're not solving anything. You're creating room. And that room, the space between noise, is where the mind resets. One man I worked with, Tetsuo-san, had lost his wife after 50 years of marriage. He told me he felt like a tree with no roots. I suggested the Ikigai walk. At first he didn't speak, just walked. But by the third week he whispered, "I think I still have something to give." That was enough. Soon after, he began teaching watercolor at the community center. He said it helped his hands remember, and his heart too. You see, we often wait for purpose to show up loudly, but it rarely does. It arrives as a whisper, in the quiet of routine. Ikigai reminds us that mental clarity isn't a mental task. It's an emotional one, a spiritual one. And for many of us, it's already inside. We've just forgotten how to greet it. So let me ask you, what question would you carry on your next walk? And what part of yourself might answer, if given time? You don't need to find purpose. You only need to make space for it to find you. Books may seem soft in a world that rushes to prescribe, but often it's the gentlest things, the quietest pages, that hold the deepest medicine. Aging is not a battle. It's a return to rhythm, to meaning, to meals made with care, walks taken with questions, and stories that remind us you're not late to your healing, you're right on time. Each of these books, Healthy Aging, Young Forever, Ikigai, offers not a cure, but a path. Not urgency, but invitation. They don't promise to reverse the clock, but they do offer something just as precious, the ability to hear your own life again. So let me ask you gently, which of these 3 books feels like it's whispering to you? And what would happen if you answered that whisper today? If something stirred in you during this time, a memory, a hunger, a breath you didn't know you were holding, consider staying with us, not to fix yourself, but to walk with others who are learning, slowly, how to heal by listening. Subscribe if you wish, but more importantly, listen for what your body is trying to tell you. It speaks in rhythm, and it's never too late to hear it.